Let me know if you can see me and hear me. Hello to Tina. That was really quick. Can you see me then? Let me know please, because my laptop is working fine this time, but my phone is maybe not in the best condition. Hello, can you hear me? Can you see me? Just drop me a yes in the chat if you can. I'm Shree, if anyone here is new. I'm your English educator for grade 11. We're trying to cover the entirety of the Term 1 portions within the course of a month. We're trying to do it just in time for your exams, and we meet every day between 7 to 8 p.m. Yeah, these are our usual class hours. We've done a bunch of lessons already. We've made our way through Portrait of a Lady, we've made our way through We're Not Afraid to Die, and we have made our way through Discovering Truth. So we've done a good segment of like prose, and today we're going to be doing some poetry. And there's something that we usually do when we do poetry that we don't do when we do prose, which is, because poetry is really short, we read the entire poem together first, and we try to get a sense of what's going on in the poem. And then after that, we read every verse and then try to understand the verse, break it down, completely get it, and then we talk about some themes. Yeah, and then we get to like poetic devices and the structure of the poem and things like that. As always, ask me questions. I will look at the chat every once in a while and reply to you. Hello to Kanishka. Good evening. I'm pretty good today. How are you? Well, I hope you're well. Okay, but like that's like clarification also that, oh, you're doing great. That is very good to know. I hope you're excited for our poem. I will go ahead and start reading the poem out now. Oh, okay, wait. Before I get to the actual lesson, I should let you know really quickly before I forget that there's something called the Unacademy Combat Scholarship Test. It's taking place, I believe, on the 26th. There is a link for it somewhere in my description box. You can click on it, enroll for it. It is a really quick test. It's only 30 questions long and 45 minutes long. It is absolutely free of cost for you to take, but it's a great opportunity for you to first of all revise, and second of all win like scholarships worth quite a lot of money. So if you have some time on 26th September at 1 p.m, then you should go ahead and give the test a shot. Just click on the description box link and sign up for it. It'll cost you nothing at all, and you have a lot to gain from it. Yeah, now that I'm done telling you about that, the Laburnum Top by Ted Hughes, and I'm gonna try to see if my cursor is anywhere here. Yeah, it is. And let's pull out the laser pointer. It's always nice to have someone new, Kanishka. So thank you for being here. Tina, we will have Menti quizzes tomorrow and day after for the 4 chapters we've covered so far. We'll do Menti quizzes in chapters of 2. So we'll be revising like 2 chapters at a time. So 2 tomorrow, 2 on Thursday, and then we'll do another lesson on Friday, I think it is. Then we'll get back into another quiz. Yeah, that's kind of how we're gonna go. 2 quizzes at a time. 2 lessons in a quiz. Sorry. Yeah. And if you're on the Telegram group, which the link for which is also in the description box, you can join it. It's called the EcoBiz Telegram group. and basically we send like updates there about what sessions are going to happen. So you'll get like updates about when the quizzes are going to happen and stuff too. So that's something that you should like just go ahead and join if you want to keep track of all of these things very easily. But yeah, let's get into our lesson, because this is a short poem, but we should still give it sufficient time. The Laburnum Top by Ted Hughes. Ted Hughes is this poet who is also an author. He's incredibly well known. If you look him up, then you'll find a lot of writing by him. One of the things that he enjoys coming back to again and again is nature, and we will be taking a very close look at nature in this poem as well. The laburnum is a tree, in case you've not had the good fortune of seeing the tree. It's a very beautiful tree. It's very colorful at the best of times, and it can make like entire streets look like floods of colors. I've seen it in Bangalore. I'm sure there are like laburnum trees in Delhi also, and there must be in other places as well. I've just not seen them there. But yeah, Ted Hughes is saying that this poem is going to be about a laburnum tree, and more importantly the top of the laburnum tree. So it's not exactly actually about the top of the laburnum tree. It's about what goes on in the laburnum tree, and let's find out what that is. This is a better look at the tree for you, in case like you've not had a chance to see it. Yeah, that is Ted Hughes. The laburnum top is silent, quite still in the afternoon yellow September sunlight, a few leaves yellowing, all its seeds fallen. Till the goldfinch comes, with a twitching chirrup, a suddenness, a startlement at a branch end. Then sleek as a lizard, and alert and abrupt, she enters the thickness, and a machine starts up of chitterings, and a tremor of wings and trillings. The whole tree trembles and thrills. It is the engine of her family. She stokes it full, then flirts out to a branch end, showing her barred face identity mask. Oh, can you not hear me? Is this better maybe? Let me know if you can hear me better. If you're still having the cracking issue, can someone else let Kanishka know whether you're also facing the same issue? Because then it might be me. Okay, alright. Thanks, Tina and Kanishka. Okay, I'll just hold this up here then and talk to you through the mic directly. Then with eerie, delicate whistle-chirrup whisperings, she launches away towards the infinite, and the laburnum subsides to empty. Okay, that is the entirety of the poem. So what is going on in this poem? Do you want to tell me your first impressions of it? What did you get from this poem? What is maybe a feeling that you had while we were reading this poem? You can leave it in the chat below and I will take a look at it. Okay, no replies. That's okay. We can go ahead and like understand the poem together. The laburnum top is silent, quite still, in the afternoon yellow September sunlight, a few leaves yellowing, all its seeds fallen. Now, multiple things are happening in this verse, right? We get silence, we get stillness, so being told that this tree isn't moving, so there's no breeze or anything going through it, there are no insects like humming or buzzing around it, it's completely quiet, it's completely still, right? It's just like a stiff thing. And then we're getting some context on when we are looking at this tree. It's September, it's afternoon, it's everything is yellow, The leaves are also yellowing, suggesting that, it's that time of year when the leaves are sort of changing color and they're on the verge of falling off. And even as the leaves are yellowing, we're told that all the seeds of the tree have already fallen off. And so the thing that we get from this first verse is that we're in September, which is close to the end of the year. It's close to that particular time of the year that things are on the verge of dying. There is no sign of life on the tree, which is to say the leaves look like they're gonna fall. So even the leaves are starting to look lifeless. There are no living things that you can see on the tree. There's no breeze or anything or any kind of movement. So the tree isn't animated. And also the seeds, which represent life, because from a seed is where a new tree and a new plant grow, right? So they represent new life, and they've all fallen, which is to say even the tree's own little hints of life have fallen off from it. They're also gone. So the tree itself is being given to us in this passage as something that is as something that is almost dead, entirely lifeless. And that is the first thing that we get. That's our first impression of the laburnum tree. Let me know if you have questions and I will check for them. Yeah, it is autumn season, Kanishka. You're right. That's what September tells us. That's what the yellowing tells us. And because of all of that, all of this yellow also starts to represent that kind of gentle end of year lifelessness. It's September, yellow sunlight, it's yellowing leaves. None of it is anything that's suggestive of life or happiness or animation. Yeah, only 2 students, but that's okay. Though if you think anybody else would want to learn this, then do let them know that this is happening and they can come join us. Till the goldfinch comes with a twitching chirrup, a suddenness, a startlement at a branch end. In the first verse, we have this very silent, very still tree. And then in the second verse, suddenly this bird comes. And the bird enters with a twitching chirrup, which is a noise, right? It's a loud noise entering into the scene, which is already extremely quiet. So this goldfinch is bringing in life with its very first entry, in the very first line of its entry in this poem. It's a suddenness, a startlement at a branch end, which is to suggest that this is happening really abruptly, out of the blue. Then sleek as a lizard and alert and abrupt, she enters the thickness. And the goldfinch sits down at the end of the branch, and then she moves into the tree, into the thickness of the leaves of the tree, and she is moving like a lizard, which is to say, if you've seen a lizard move, if you've seen it dart across the floor, you know that it moves really fast, right? So that kind of movement is what the goldfinch is enacting. She's moving really fast, she's moving really quickly through the thickness of the tree into the inside. And a machine starts up, of chitterings and a tremor of wings and trillings. The whole tree trembles and thrills. And when she enters the thickness, she has a nest on this tree. And the nest of birds, the baby birds, start making noise in response to her. There's a tremor of wings, which is to say wings shaking. The baby birds start moving their wings. They start chittering and trilling. Both of those are bird noises, so they're starting to make their little bird noises. The whole tree trembles and thrills. And with the baby birds starting to make noise, the entire tree sort of starts to seem alive. The movement that starts with the wings of the baby birds moves to the entire tree, which is just, if the birds are moving on the particular branch that they're in, then the branch itself is going to be moving. So the movement sort of passes on from the baby birds to the tree. It is the engine of her family. She stokes it full, then flirts out to a branch end, showing her barred face identity mask. So it's her family, she feeds her family of birds, and then she goes back to the end of the branch and she's showing the world her face. And now let's break down all of these words in more detail, right? But before we do that, I just wanted to check if you have questions. Shocked. Another word for shocked would be astonished, if you want that. Yeah, that is a pretty good like synonym for shocked. Okay. So yeah, that twitching chirrup is that immediate entry of sound. That suddenness and startlement is almost like, you know, if the tree is sleeping and somebody's come and woken up the tree. It's like that, right? The tree is being shaken out of its sleepiness. And then we're told a machine starts up of chitterings and a tremor of wings. And we're told that this is a machine. And what is this machine, right? Why is it being called a machine? We've already talked about how this machine is how the baby birds start moving, and how the tree also responds to the movement of the baby birds and starts moving. So really the machine in this particular case refers not only to those baby birds but also to the tree. And let's look at the verse again for a moment. A machine starts up, right? I'm just going to pull out a pen. A machine starts up, and then we have like the full stop here. So this is where it ends, right? The reference to the machine. So the machine includes not only those baby birds but also the entire tree, which is starting to move now that the goldfinch is there on the tree. And why is it being referred to as a machine? It's because if you've seen, I mean, you've obviously seen multiple machines in your life, and when you switch on a machine, it does like a certain set of things for you, right? It is very predictable. It's like switch on a machine, 1, 2, 3 happens. And just like that, when the goldfinch arrives, it's like a bunch of things happen. The birds wake up, the birds start moving, the branch starts moving, the tree starts shaking, the tree wakes up. And so it's like the routine of a machine happens when it comes to the ecosystem of the goldfinch, the baby birds, and the whole tree. So it's like a routine, it's a very predictable routine, and that's why it's being referred to as a machine. It is the engine of her family. She stokes it full. What here is the engine, right? You might think that it refers maybe to the tree, like the tree is the engine of the family, but that's not right. What the engine refers to here is the family itself, and we know that from the next line, right? She says she stokes it full, which means that she is fueling something. Stokes is a word that's generally used to refer to machines and how you put fuel in a machine to make it run. And just like that, the goldfinch is putting fuel in something, and what she's putting fuel in must be her children, right? She's come back to the tree to feed her babies, and she's feeding them and she's giving them energy, and the energy that she's giving them is helping them sort of move, make all of that motion, which is making the entire tree move. So the engine in this particular case is the bunch of baby birds that are there in a nest on the tree. And they're referred to as an engine because the engine is that part of the machine that keeps the machine running. Without the engine, a machine won't run, right? And just like that, without the goldfinch and her baby birds, the entirety of the tree will not be in movement. And that's what we get from this particular segment. And then she goes back to the end of a branch and she is about to leave. Flirts refers to the movement of the bird's tail and wings. So she's sort of like walking off, and she's walking off by like flapping her wings and her tail a little bit. And she shows her barred face identity mask. Now, what does this mean? What is a barred face identity mask? Well, the goldfinch has a black strip across its eyes. So it's like a black bar across the goldfinch's eyes, and that is her identifying mark. If you see the goldfinch and you see that like black stripe, then you know that it's a goldfinch. So that's what is coming across here. It's that barred face, which is her identity mark. And that's the thing by which people identify the goldfinch, and that's what we're getting here. But it's also a little bit of a contradiction, right? Because an identity mask is something by which people recognize you. They look at you and you're like, yes, it's that person. But a barred face is not only a striped face but also a hidden face. Barred can also mean like blocked off. So it's a bit of like a play of words. Ted Hughes is just sort of like messing around with words and trying to say, oh, her face is hidden, and that's how we identify her. Let me know if you got all of that, if you have any questions. Can you hear me clearer? Yeah, Tina, you're absolutely right about that. It adds fuel to the stoking does mean like to add fuel to an engine. You want another word for shocked that is not astonished. What about bewildered? Yeah, let me know what you think of bewildered. Okay, but let me know if all of this is clear. Do you understand the barred face identity mask especially? Okay, good to know you all get it. Then let's keep moving. So what we get immediately when we read the first verse and the second verse with each other is that in the first verse we have stillness and silence, and in the second verse we have sound and movement. So immediately there's a contrast that's being built in the poem for us. Then, with eerie, delicate whistle-chirrup whisperings, she launches away towards the infinite. Eerie, delicate whistle-chirrup whisperings. That's a very full phrase. Eerie means strange, delicate means gentle, almost fragile. Whistle chirrup is the noise that the goldfinch is making, but whispering suggests that the entire sound has reduced in volume, and delicate also suggests that it has reduced in volume and reduced in strength. So the voice of the goldfinch has reduced in strength and she is on the verge of flying off. She launches away towards the infinite. The infinite refers to the sky, the entire world out there. She just sort of like takes off into wherever. And the laburnum subsides to empty. Subsides means it goes back to being, which means that the silence returns. And so we take a circular turn back to the beginning of the poem. Once again, the laburnum is silent. Once again, the laburnum is empty. Once again, the laburnum is still. Right? And empty suggests again that kind of lifelessness, right? That kind of hollowness that is in the tree when the goldfinch is not there. And that is the poem. We've gotten a sense of the entire poem. Let's talk about themes very briefly, but before that, questions again. Bewildered, Kanishka? I think that's the word you're looking for. Did you say the poem is boring? Okay, what themes do you think are in the poem? No replies? Okay, we can talk about them. bewildered does mean confused, but it also means shocked. It's a mix of like multiple things that comes with bewildered, right? It's really, the thing is, when it comes to words and synonyms, a lot matters about the context in which you're using them. So really, the sentence helps you define the word more than the definition of the word itself. And you can use bewildered as a synonym for shocked. You can also use astonished as a synonym for shocked. Oh, I'm sorry to hear you're finding it boring, Kanishka. If you have any feedback on what you'd prefer or what would work better for you, then let me know and we can look at incorporating that into the future lectures, yeah? Okay, themes. First, the one thing that we get is the idea of an ecosystem. We get this idea that the laburnum and the goldfinch are deeply interconnected. We have this imagery that we're getting of the machine and the engine, which tells us that, you know, if this entire tree is running because of the presence of the goldfinch and the babies, then the goldfinch and the babies are absolutely integral to the tree. But without the tree, the goldfinch and the babies wouldn't really have anywhere to be. Just like an engine would be quite irrelevant without a machine, right? So just as important as the goldfinch and the babies are for the tree is important for the goldfinch and her babies as well. Yeah, that sense of like shelter that the goldfinch and her babies are getting, and the liveliness that the tree is getting from them, that kind of interconnection, how they both give something to each other. That's how the entire world is set up, right? We're always like contributing something to somebody else's life, and they're always contributing something back to our lives. And that's just kind of how the world works, and that's kind of how the environment generally runs. We also see that a very small thing can create a very big change, as with the goldfinch like sort of just sitting at the edge of the tree, and it's such a small bird, but it sets the entire tree running. It brings life to the entire tree. So the effect of a small variable is something that we're seeing in this particular poem. We also get a couple of other themes actually, and I want to talk about it before we read the actual poem again. One is that sense that there is death and there is life, and there is sort of that death again in this poem. You have this lifelessness of the tree, and then how lively it gets, and then it goes back to being lifeless, right? And this happens within the course of like minutes. And that's kind of how the world works too. Again, you have multiple seasons, you have like seasons in which everything is full of life and blooming, you have seasons in which everything is sort of dying and everything is becoming a lot quieter, and it keeps going on. It doesn't stop at any one particular stage. It moves, it moves, it moves, it moves. And so what we're also kind of getting is this constant movement in nature. So those are all themes that are also in this poem. What we're going to do now is we're going to read the poem again, and then we're going to look at the rhyme scheme, poetic devices. We're going to look also a little bit at the structure of this poem. So I'm going to go ahead and read the poem for us. The laburnum top is silent, quite still in the afternoon yellow September sunlight. A few leaves yellowing, all its seeds falling. Till the goldfinch comes with a twitching chirrup, a suddenness, a startlement at a branch end. Then sleek as a lizard and alert and abrupt, she enters the thickness, and a machine starts up of chitterings and a tremor of wings and trillings. The whole tree trembles and thrills. It is the engine of her family. She stokes it full, then flirts out to a branch end, showing her barred face identity mask. Then with eerie, delicate whistle-chirrup whisperings, she launches away towards the infinite, and the laburnum subsides to empty. Okay, we have read the poem together again. what I want you to do is try and tell me whether you see a rhyme scheme in this poem. Okay. Well, if you've paid close attention, what you'll notice is that there isn't a rhyme scheme in this poem, right? This is very much a blank verse poem, which is to say that the poem isn't trying to make any sort of rhyming pattern occur. It's just going wherever it wants to go, and it carries on without like attempting to rhyme at the end of each line. Poem is that in each verse we discover a different state of the tree. What does this mean? The thing is, when poets write poetry, they're usually like breaking up the poem into different segments for a particular reason, right? They don't just like casually break up the poem into whatever verse they want to break up. They're trying to tell us something by like putting each verse in its particular like place. And that's definitely true of this poem also. In each verse, the state of the tree changes. In the first verse, we have 3 lines only. It's a very short verse, and we're told how everything is lifeless and quiet. And the length of the verse goes in line with that, right? It's very little to say about the tree because the tree is very still, very quiet, very lifeless. In the second verse, the goldfinch arrives and it brings movement and life to the tree, and that verse is suddenly very, very long. And that represents how now that the goldfinch is there, a lot of things are happening in the tree, and a lot of like words are needed to tell us what's going on in the tree. In the third verse, we will see again that there are only 3 lines, and this is because the goldfinch yet again is on the verge of leaving. Silence is returning to the tree slowly already, and so the length of the verse also like becomes smaller once again to represent that again with the departure of the goldfinch there is very little going on in the tree. And after the goldfinch is left, we have one final line, which is, and the laburnum subsides empty. And it's a single line because it is a line that is standing very alone at the very end of the poem, much like the tree is now standing completely alone without the goldfinch there with it, right? So that kind of like line just sitting there all alone represents that tree sitting there all alone, and that's what the structure of this poem is doing. It's kind of bringing us full circle, which is to say we start with silence and we end at silence again. And that's the structure of the poem. There are a bunch of like poetic devices in this poem. Let's talk about what they are. First, we should look at the simplest one, which is alliteration. Alliteration is when 2 words start with the same sound. So September sunlight, sa, abrupt and alert, so that kind of same sound is when it's called alliteration. I also do want to let you know that like it's the same sound and not the same letter. So look for instance at trembles and thrills. That's not an alliteration, right? If it had been trembles and trills, it would have been an alliteration because the t sound would have been there. But if it's trembles and thrills, it's t and th, and therefore there is no alliteration here. So that's something for you to know. Another thing that we get is personification. We get it in the whole tree trembles. Personification is when an inanimate object is given a characteristics that is very animate, right? The tree is very much something that doesn't usually tremble. People tremble, animals tremble, but trees generally don't tremble. Except here we're told that the tree does tremble, and in giving the tree this characteristic, we're personifying it, we're making it a person. So we also get a simile in this poem, and the simile is sleek as a lizard. A simile is when there's a comparison being made between one thing and another, and the comparison is being made very directly we're told that the comparison is being made gently through keywords such as or like. In this case, it's as. And the simile here is being made between the goldfinch's movement and the movement of the lizard. So the abrupt, quick movement of the lizard is being compared to the abrupt, quick movement of the goldfinch. So that's what the comparison that's going on here is, and that is the simile in this poem. We also have metaphors in this poem. There is a very key metaphor in this poem, and that is the machine and the engine. The machine, as we already talked about, well, actually a metaphor, if you didn't know already, is a poetic device in which there is a comparison being made without us directly being told that there's a comparison being made. For instance, we just told the machine starts up, and we're supposed to connect like what the machine is to something in the poem and understand what exactly is being compared. And in this particular case, the machine, as we already discussed, is the tree and the birds. And we've seen that the comparison point is the predictability of the way that these two things are running, the way that a machine, if you click the switch button, it just starts running, and the way the tree, when the goldfinch arrives, starts running. So that's the metaphor that's taking place here. And we also have a metaphor with the engine, which is kind of the center of a machine that keeps the machine going. And just like that, the family of the bird is the engine at the very heart of the machine that keeps the machine of the tree and the running. So those are the metaphors that we get in this particular poem. And actually, I think that brings us to the end of this lesson. If you have any questions, then do let me know, and I will definitely get back to you on those. But thank you, first of all, for being here with me. If you like today's session, then do leave a like. If you have any comments, then leave me comments and leave me feedback. Let me know what's working for you. Let me know what's not working for you. If something's not working for you, then I'm happy to change it. So you should let me know about that. All of that said, I want to let you know a couple of things about Unacademy and what Unacademy has to offer you. There is an Unacademy app on Google Play and on the Apple App Store. You can download it for free, and you can try all of the features on it for free also. It has a lot of live quizzes and mock quizzes and things like that, so those are useful if you're looking to get some revision in. It also has some very cool features like the Ask a Doubt feature, on which you can ask any kind of doubt you want and you will get an answer to that doubt. So yeah, you should try that out also if there's something in your school lessons that you maybe didn't understand and you maybe need some more help with. So that's the Unacademy app. It's the Learners app. You can find it, download it, you can use it. You can also use my code on it. It's THAR01. This is the Ask a Doubt feature. You basically just like click on Ask a Doubt, you take a picture of whatever question you have, you choose the subject that the question is for, and then you get the answer to the question. There's also something called Unacademy Plus that Unacademy offers. That basically has access to a lot more course material than you get on YouTube. You get a bunch more study material. You get like study material in PDF format also, which makes it easy to read. You get practice tests, you get live tests, you have access to like doubt clearing sessions and answer writing sessions in which educators will help you figure out how to like best answer your papers and also help you clarify any sort of questions that you have. These are the prices for Unacademy Plus. The cost varies based on the duration that you take the subscription for, but if you take it for a longer duration of time, then the per month cost is a lot less. There's also something called Unacademy Iconic, which is a different kind of education plan for you. In it, you won't be working with a group of people, you'll be working individually with an educator. They'll be kind of helping you figure out what you're good at, what you need like extra help with. They'll be figuring out all of your doubts with you. So if you're not one for a classroom setting and you much prefer like just working on your own with your teacher, then Unacademy Iconic is something that's for you. You'll get weekly reports of how you're doing. They'll tell you about your progress. Your parents can also be in touch with educators to find out how you're doing on open days. So yeah, that's Unacademy Iconic. It's like school, but only for you. Um, and these are the prices of Iconic. And again, the per month cost is a lot less if you take it for a lot longer. You can also use my referral code for both Plus and Iconic. My code is THAR01 and it will give you a flat 10% discount. It is also special price week this week until 28th. So if you manage to get a subscription in this duration of time, and if it's for a duration that's less than 9 months, then you'll get 5% discount. If you take it for a duration that's longer than 9 months, you will get a 10% flat discount on top of the referral code discount. So this is the time really for you to get a subscription. It lasts until 28th September, as I've said. So keep that in mind. Go check out like all of these things that Unacademy has to offer you. And thanks for being here with me on the Unacademy platform on YouTube today. As I've said already, if you like this, then do leave a like. If you think other people might benefit from listening to this, then do share it. And subscribe if you're looking for more content like this, because we're making more content for you all the time. I will see you tomorrow for a Menti quiz, and again on Thursday for another Menti quiz.